You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling an Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Also, for the podcast, a new sponsor, RCB Bank. Since 1936, RCB Bank has offered progressive products and a friendly service. Come in today to find out more about their loan promotion on new, used, refinanced cars, boats, campers, and ATVs. Visit RCB Bank to learn more. RCB Bank, that's my bank. With approved credit, restrictions apply. Now, let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down in Oklahoma City today with my guest, Don Kasperiet, to talk about, I think, just community impact and obviously a little bit about the business that you're in, or multiple businesses that you're in. But Don, thank you so much for taking the time of your day to come on the podcast.
Glad to do it.
Chatting here, just a little bit. There's obviously a lot going on, and I don't think we're going to get to all of it today. If you're watching the video, you guys will see the background of a lot of amazing pictures of wildlife. You clearly love to travel.
I do.
I'm sure you're looking forward to getting back on a plane somewhere whenever we're allowed to. But before we dive into, I guess, the community and stuff that the things that you and your wife have given back to, and family and business as well. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up here in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. My wife and I were both born at St. Anthony's Hospital and went to high school and grade school and high school here. And I went to OU afterwards. Mm-hmm. Had both an undergraduate and graduate degree from there.
Okay. So growing up, brothers and sisters?
Pardon me?
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I'm an only child.
Okay. So you were the special one then.
Yeah. And so was my wife,
right.
Which makes it interesting.
that makes it very interesting. We're having that conversation with the father-in-law, I'm sure. So growing up then in Oklahoma City, what was high school like? What was going into college? Did you kind of have an idea what you wanted to do? What was kind of dad's business, stuff like that?
Well, I've always had an interest in art and architecture, and then I evolved into development. I have my master's degree from University of Oklahoma is city planning.
Okay.
And I went to work for the city straight out of school, and I was in charge of planning and zoning for Oklahoma City. Then I evolved to planning director for the Urban Renewal Authority right when the downtown redevelopment in the 70s was getting started. So that was a very interesting time and very exciting because so much was going on. And I started learning a lot about the development business. Mm-hmm. As that started winding down, I evolved into my own personal development company.
Mm-hmm. What gets you involved in architecture at a young age?
I don't know that. I mean, that was just an innate interest that I had in art and architecture, and so all of those things kind of led me to where I am. Sure. And I get a lot of satisfaction about the creativity of my development business today.
Yeah. Was your father into property planning and development, stuff like that?
Not really. My father was a superintendent for a semi-trailer manufacturing company. But he had quite a bit of rental property. Okay. And so I was aware of that and keeping that up and doing that. So I'm sure that had a big impact on that too. Yeah, and you saw property and real estate was a way to go through seeing your dad having rentals and being a part of that as well. Right. Yeah. So you go to OU. Was there any other choices on the table at that time, or was it I'm always going to go to OU? Oh, that seemed the logical thing. I mean, I looked at other things, but that was the most logical thing. Yeah.
So you go to OU, you graduate city planning, and you go work for the city right out of school. And like you said, that time there was so much going on, right? Like that was a very exciting time for Oklahoma City.
The downtown Oklahoma City was nowhere near like what it was now. And the power structure of the city, the major banks, publishing company, and all got together to develop a downtown redevelopment plan. And there was a significant amount of funding available nationally for downtown redevelopment. And so, that plan was developed, and you've probably heard the name I Am Pay. A plan called I Am Pay plan was developed. And then shortly after that, I was asked to come over there from the city to kind of shepherd some of that. So
what were you quite young when they asked you to come over? Was there anyone in that position, or were you kind of one of the youngest people to be given that opportunity?
Well, I was 26 or 7.
Yeah, young enough then. Yeah. Going in,
it was, I thought, a nice opportunity, and I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
And gave me a lot of background for where I've wound up.
Right. And at this time, are you married? Had you met your wife at that point as well?
I was married. In fact, my son was about a year old when I went over there.
Yeah. And you're going to work for the city, and you see that you have the opportunity to be a part of some huge change, which people are going to see for generations, and it could lead to a lot of other things other things too that now we're looking at, right? You look back on years and years of things that I had something to do with that.
And one of the things I'm most proud of is the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority. We did a Oklahoma City master plan, following up a revision, if you will, of the I Am Pay plan, and we developed the Riverfront project in that. Yeah. And that was a long time coming about, but it did come about. And I've been involved in that ever since with the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, continuing now to grow into the extension of the park.
Yeah, we're adding different elements to it as time goes on. So.
How far along are we, like, in the development plans that you have? Like, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff coming, but sadly things take a lot longer than sometimes they're projected as. We have the Boathouse District and the rivers and everything that connects, from the lakes and stuff that you added in, the bike trails. Like, I love my bike, so I ride from Overholser down to amazing trails that the city's done. Is there a lot more coming as well?
Well, there certainly will be. And of course, you have to sometimes marry the right private project with public interaction. But we're also in the process of updating things as time goes on. Okay. Like the boathouse thing wasn't in our original plans, but an opportunity came along, and so it got incorporated, and it's a major part of it right now. Yeah, and they just added, is it the new indoor skiing stuff they've added, and indoor surfing, and I'm not very good at that stuff, but I've seen some great videos of it, and I'm sure people will use, take full advantage of that. So back to, you're 26, 27, working for the city. Take us there. What's that time like in the city? What's the vibe of the city at that time? Is it kind of exciting? What do you think? Well, and of course, I was very new to the business world. I just gotten out of school, so it was exciting and an opportunity to be involved in things that were going on, and a good steep learning curve, which was beneficial. Mm-hmm. And then I guess that's part of why I was asked to go over to the Urban Renewal Authority, and so I worked with then developers then, and so. Yeah. They were, in a sense, a mentor to where I wound up coming. Is
there anything that were on the plans or ideas that never happened, but just exciting things that came really close to happening that would have...
Well,
having a rail car system was one of them, right? Was it a rail car system? Did I see that somewhere in the history books that was potentially happening?
There were talks of revitalizing interurban things that went on, and of course, the streetcar thing came on and off 2 or 3 different times, which ultimately evolved. But you constantly have to reevaluate your plans because things change. The original pay plan involved a major mall in downtown Oklahoma City. Okay. As time evolved, that really wasn't the way cities were developing, so we had to reorient some of that property for other entities.
Yeah, and then moving on, fast forwarding, when we have maps happens, right, and the Thunder come to town, or it could have been an NHL hockey team, and I mean all that's going on. You're in the thick of it at that point as well.
A lot of it, sure.
Yeah. What being a part of that planning and putting maps together then and all that, I mean, bringing the city involved, with redeveloping buildings and, what's that like?
It's fun. And back when the arena was first built, we did not have a hockey team, and at that time there was thought of a hockey team and probably an NFL team.
Yeah.
I mean a NBA team most likely was kind of out.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit of build it and they'll come, because when that was there and ready is when Katrina hit New Orleans.
And the Hornets came, yeah.
And then Oklahoma City got an opportunity to take them at least for a couple of years while they were rebuilding New Orleans. And Oklahoma City became a pretty strong basketball fan city. So that's how the Thunder kind of got started.
Perfect timing, wasn't it? Perfect timing.
Just kind of, there's some good luck for some when bad luck occurs other places.
Yeah.
It was interesting, evolving time for Oklahoma City.
And you've seen the likes of kind of the district start to develop now, right? I mean, Bricktown is completely different to what it was back in the day. I mean, people talk about not even wanting to go near that place back in the day.
And the Canal District was, that was all engineered for it. The canal goes down what was California Street, and there was a lot of people saying, does that really make good sense? But it turned out it was a pretty special thing, and it to a lot of people gave it kind of a San Antonio flavor with the canal through there. So that helped the area a lot.
Yeah. So you leave the city stuff and then you go off and develop your own side of things.
Right.
What was the decision to do that?
Well, the redevelopment things were coming somewhat to a close. We're also very involved in the medical center.
Okay.
And some of those things were winding down. And I had done a few projects on my own while that was going on.
Yeah.
And the timing was right to make that transition.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it very much. It's always nice to kind of control your own operation, and so.
Yeah, that's one thing and people listening might understand that too. If you have your own business, you never stop working, but you also enjoy your time.
Today we do primarily industrial development.
Okay.
And we'll do probably more build-a-suit lease than we do build-a-suit sale. But
sure.
It kind of depends on what somebody wants.
Yeah.
Some companies don't really want to purchase it. They want to put their funds in growing their company, and so we can design it and build it for them, and then
build that into the lease. Yeah. So was it you always wanted to go down the commercial route instead of following Dad and going down the rental route with the houses?
Well, I mean, we did go down the rental route, but just with industrial properties rather than residential.
Yeah. And I mean, what was Dad's idea and thoughts when you started doing that? What was he?
Well, I think he followed it and was very interested. And
that must be really cool to have that relationship with your dad and have the shared.
I had a very close relationship with my father.
Yeah,
to have that very special
that shared, have him as a mentor in real estate and business, and grow a place that you've grown up in and have such an impact as real estate. We mentioned earlier, you're building stuff that's going to be around for generations, and long outlive all of us, and just the impact that has. It's heartwarming, isn't it?
No, it is.
Yeah.
And I really can't. I don't even have track of how many projects we've done. I need to go back and count, but I can't say.
So another thing, obviously, that's primarily the business that you're in. But one of the things I want to talk about, which is your love of kind of giving back, right? I know you're involved in the zoo and the arts as well. Where does that come from? Where does the love of animals and kind of just wanting to be involved in that come from?
Well, I've always been attracted to animals. Both sides of my family came in from the farming, ranching background, so I was, as a child, around cattle a lot. But I've just always liked animals, and so I've been involved with the zoo for 20 years or so, Zoological Society, and also I spent 6 years on the trust, and had the opportunity to serve as chairman of the zoo, and I enjoyed that very much. So, this city's been very good to me, and it's special. It's home. I love it very much, so I enjoy giving back.
Yeah, many people in your situation that have developed and built a business and had, for some people might have just gone, I'm going to build a house in Arizona and move to Arizona because that seems like the thing to do. It seems like you've stayed, and that's why you stayed, because you love where you're at and you have an impact, and your family's here. And
well, I mean, even if you take away my involvement from here, really, if you kind of assess the country, there are not a lot of better places to live than Oklahoma City right today.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special place.
Yeah, I might cut that out. I don't want people knowing that. Right? We don't want people.
There's some you don't want coming.
Yeah, we'll keep that between ourselves. No, but you're right. It's there's so many things changing here. People are starting to realize that Oklahoma City is growing, and it's not just growing for commercial reasons or whatever. But people are moving here. Cost of living's great. The arts are growing here. I mean, it was voted, I think, recently as one of the best cities to have public murals in. The stuff like that, and then you bring the Omni in here and all the other development that's going on down there.
Well, and today with all the migration out of northern states, New York and Chicago and L.A., Texas and Florida being larger states get most of the publicity, but Oklahoma City and Oklahoma in general is getting a fair amount of that. I mean, housing market's tight, keeps growing, and so we're at a very nice position.
Yeah. And bringing in big business in the you mentioned kind of in the commercial industry of real estate, you're bringing Boeing's here, and you're bringing in Google to Pryor, and I mean just all these companies, and we might get Tesla, who knows? But they did. I think Tulsa just brought a new electric car manufacturing
canoe.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're coming in. It's. Milo's Tea just bought a new manufacturing facility in Tulsa, and that's the first time they've ever left Alabama is to bring here, and all these. I mean, it's happening, and then you mentioned the movie business.
In many ways, Oklahoma's kind of a well-kept secret, but it's starting to get exposure that it hadn't had before.
Yeah, it's. I mean, people. That's why people are probably buying up land and buying up property now before it goes skyrocketed, and we end up like Denver or something. Yeah. Back to the zoo. When you have an interest in animals as a young age, you're working on a ranch. I'm sure you don't miss the ranch work.
Well, there are good and bad things about anything, and there's, that newborn calf out in a green pasture in the spring. That's always special.
Yeah,
breaking ice in February never was.
Yeah, the recent ice storm that we had. It's I
also have a couple of farms out in the Deer Creek area close to my home, so we raised cattle there for a while, but I haven't in several years.
Yeah, that. I mean, I felt sorry for some of those ranchers going through that ice storm.
They had desperate situations.
And it was calving season too, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's... For everyone listening, pray for your local farmer because they need it. Tell me about being on the board at the zoo and how that works, because most people, they've probably been to the zoo in Oklahoma City and the amphitheater, but how does it work about, you bringing animals in, or like, I have no idea how that works.
Well, there are really two aspects of it. I talked about the Zoological Society, which I'm still involved in. That is kind of a promotion fundraising arm for the zoo.
Okay.
Then the Zoo Trust is the administrative arm of the zoo. So the contracts and the business that the zoo needs to transact goes through that.
Yeah.
So they're two separate. Of course, the purchasing and the decision of what animals to buy, sell, or whatever gets done by the staff, and then usually that gets it works its way through the administrative part through the zoo, through the trust.
And through being involved with that, obviously, like we mentioned, the pictures are on the wall behind us. You've seen some of the world's best animals.
Yeah, most of this is out of Africa.
Yeah,
Tanzania and Botswana and places like that. Yeah, we've been on a few photo safari things, and I have some really special friends that I travel with, and so it's. Yeah, we're working on one now. Another one, hopefully.
Oh, good.
Within the year. So,
where is that? Is that going back to the similar places you've been to, or somewhere else?
Tanzania is, particularly from a safari point of view, really special because the concentration of animals is so strong.
Okay.
And it's you've heard about the wildebeest migration,
right.
And that's very, very strong there, and that's an overwhelming thing to see.
To see. Can you kind of view it? Are you in like the back of a Land Rover when you're seeing that, or can you fly in helicopters?
I've said several times you can be in a Land Rover safari wagon.
Yeah.
And you can look to the north and see wildebeest as far as you can, to the west, to the east, to the south. I mean, it's you can see it on TV, but it's the overwhelmingness
of the ground shaking and everything.
It's really overwhelming.
I mean, it's like a scene from Lion King, right? Like but in real life, and there's a photographer that I've mentioned on the podcast before. He's out of the UK. His name's David Yarrow. and he takes kind of very good photography, and it's mostly black and white, sells it as fine art. And he's done some great series about being in the safari and just sending out a camera, and he's got it on remote, and there's elephants walking by.
And too, if there's that many wildebeest, then the lions and leopards and
it's feeding time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's a buffet.
Yeah. Well, what's to that point? What's any of the other great experiences that you've had from traveling and seeing animals and being out there? Is there anything that really stands out?
I often say I've yet to regret the first dollar I spent traveling. Right. I enjoy traveling, and my wife and I have very similar feelings about it, which is great fortune too. They've all been nice. Yeah. Some I maybe liked a little more than others, but they're just it's really when you're comparing like going somewhere in the Andes in Chile and down there and some maybe like in Switzerland or something, they're different, but they're the same. It's hard to compare, but they've all been special for me. Right.
And like you said, your wife loves it too, so that's great to do that together and travel and have those experiences with the good group of friends that you have. And
we do. There are about a dozen of us that have traveled pretty extensively together. Yeah. Well, I had one or two once in a while, and one or two will not go. But
sure. Any animals you haven't seen yet that you want to cross off the list and see?
No, I don't think so.
You've seen most of them, yeah. I've friends who have been on safaris, and one of the things they keep telling me is that they can't believe how big hippos are in person.
Well, and people don't realize hippos are maybe the most dangerous animal in Africa. More people are killed by hippos than lions.
Really? Mm-hmm. Just because they move faster than you think?
They can. You can't outrun them. Yeah. And you just got to be very careful about where they are. They're fairly passive if they don't feel threatened. So.
Right. Yeah, I recently read Matthew McConaughey's new book Green Lights, and he talks about going traveling and going into the woods and meeting people, totally going on his own, and just that experience of meeting native people or people who, wherever you're at, in their place of life, and just seeing they have no idea what the outside world is like, but the perspective you get from traveling.
The safari thing is in a safari wagon, the animals don't associate humans with it, and they're around, and they don't pay attention. I've really been sitting in an open safari wagon, and the lion be sitting. I probably could have petted it. I wasn't about to, but it was close enough to where I might could have. Yeah. But you keep your limbs inside and don't step out, and they don't associate it that way. So
don't bother me and I won't bother you. Yeah. You're in their backyard, really, aren't you? You don't want to be poking around and grabbing something. You could lose a hand real quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool to have those experiences and to kind of have that perspective and be able to when you come back home and you go on travel, and it's such a reset, isn't it, when you travel, and it's especially going on a safari and seeing stuff like that. It puts life into perspective and. Helps you make other decisions and helps you, like I said, put things into perspective. You might come back and you might have to put out a few fires at work, but in the grand scheme of things,
sometimes when you've traveled around the world like that, it gives you more appreciation for home too.
Yeah, and the people here too. Mm-hmm. That's one. I've said it many times. I love being here because everyone's so welcoming, and it's one of the things I meant talking to Regina earlier. She said that and she said that you would never say this, but she did say that you were one of the best bosses she's ever had, and this place is like a family. So I wanted to fit that in because she's like, you'll never say that. But
well, we try to act like family here.
That's what she saed. That's exactly, and your son obviously said the same thing. And it's you bring it back, and everything centers around family and business, and you all work together in the same way. Another thing that I want to mention is kind of the arts as well. They kind of intertwine, right, with giving back. The city and this Oklahoma City community loves the arts. Mm-hmm. The new Contemporary Art Center looks fantastic. Smith and Pickle did a great job building it.
We are involved with Oklahoma City Art Museum and have been for quite a while, and enjoy doing it. In fact, we just this last week went to the opening of the Pompeii exhibit, which was kind of overwhelming.
Was Ed Ruscha? Is that Ed Ruscha's one, or was Ed was here recently?
That's the
right?
Contemporary Art.
Okay, got you.
Which we're involved there somewhat too.
But this was the Pompeii.
This is the new museum presentation is paintings from Pompeii.
Wow.
So they're the eruption was in 79 BC. So these they got preserved because they got encapsulated. And Oklahoma City is the only place in the United States that's receiving this. So it's a pretty special thing.
Yeah, I mean, how does Oklahoma City get that over New York, Houston, or wherever?
I don't know that I can answer that other than just relationships and opportunities.
That's fantastic. Have you been to Pompeii?
I have.
How was it?
It's really kind of chilling because you can see sometimes a house and a painting on the wall that was there then, but it was encapsulated so long that it was preserved. And,
it's amazing.
Some of the old roads down the middle of it, you can see wagon wheel trenches down there that were
wow, before
Christ time.
Right.
So it's overwhelming place to go to.
Yeah. So all of this stuff that, like I said, we're not going to get to everything today because there is so much, and speaking to people that know you, there's so much things that you have done, and people might not even know that you're involved in them, but there's a lot of things you've done in this community and for this city. What are you excited for in the future? What's coming up this year? I mean, you mentioned going traveling soon, thankfully that we're allowed to travel again, but, developing new buildings, Oklahoma City's continuing to grow. You don't strike me as someone who just wants to sit off and retire on their rocking chair.
Well, we joke around here a little bit.
Yeah.
People say, well, when are you going to retire? And I said, well, I've been thinking about 85. And then I said, well, that may be a little close. I might have to rethink that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you noticed a while ago, we were looking at a new industrial addition that we are presenting to the City Planning Commission next month.
So, and that's just for just a new business coming in, or is that just it's not filled yet?
It's several industrial lots that will build industrial buildings on.
Understood.
But we've got to go in and make the presentation for the plat to the city, which shows what kind of street we're going to put in and where the utilities go and the size and the relationship of the lots. And then once we get that approved by the city, then we bring utility and paving companies in to do the grading, paving, and utilities. Sure. And then after that, we'll start building the buildings on it. Yeah,
and just building, like I said, to rent out and get the attention of an Amazon or of whoever that wants to come in.
And we have a wide variety of tenants, and we do sell some of them, but the majority of them we build and lease long term. So
yeah. I mean, I get the feeling that you aren't going to retire anytime soon because it keeps you alive, it keeps you ticking, keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I for me at least, I think mentally and physically I'm better off.
Yeah.
Couch time isn't very good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid if I retired, I'd do more of that than I ought to. I do enough of it anyway, but certainly don't want to do any more.
Yeah, and daytime TV is terrible, isn't it? Yeah. There's enough junk on TV that might put you to sleep anyway. Well, is there anything that when people ask you who you are, what do you do, and why do you do it? I think we've probably covered a lot of that already, and people listening can understand that, clearly you love traveling, but the community impact is probably takes front and center, and being in real estate and having community impact on a large scale. What do you want your legacy to be?
He was a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah. Is there anything that comes down from dad, come from family that, it's...
Well, I had the good fortune of coming from a very strong family-based family. I don't know that I could imagine having better parents than I had.
Yeah.
Luck of the draw, but and grandparents and so on. I had great fortune in the family that chose me, I guess.
Do you, I guess going back to ranching, do you wish more kids grew up on a ranch these days? Outside of neighborhoods and out in the country? And
well, one of the things that's kind of tragic in a way, kids don't really understand where some of their meals come from. even like with chicken dishes, a lot of times it's a filleted breast or something. It doesn't have a bone in it, so they don't even young child doesn't even understand it comes from a chicken. And I think having a little bit more roots back would be nice, but I don't think we're going that direction at all.
Sadly, no, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time out to share some stories. I know there's, like I said, that there's so much to uncover, and you've done so much, and your name's probably not on all of it because, it's not about that. It's not about you getting accolades for things and saying, oh, look at me, I did this, my name's on this building. It's just about community impact and continuing to do that. With the urban renewal stuff that's coming on and going forward.
Well, one of the things I kind of look at is I don't separate work and play. I think I'm doing both most of the time.
Yeah. And you're clearly, that famous quote, right? You find something that you do and you love doing and
I'm
never
very
feel like
fortunate.
work.
I love doing what I do.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen to everybody.
No doubt. And to the point of the planning stuff, you're excited for this to go through, right? There's that sense that you still get probably that fizz and that buzz in you that's like, oh yeah, we got it. Now we can go do this, and it starts again. And then you're on to the next project.
Keep that carrot out in front of you.
Yeah, that's for people listening. Then I'm 30 years old. There's people listening that are younger than me, that might be older than me. You're still moving. You're still still staying active. Apart from keep that carrot out in front of you, is there any other advice you have for people?
Do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Find it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been
Certainly,
awesome. For everyone listening, I'll post, I'll do as much research as I can, do as much digging and give you some more information on Don, but I'll post the links to some of the website stuff and development stuff that he's done. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and we'll try our best to get us answered. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And safe travels when you go.
Thank you.
Because I know you're looking forward to that. And hopefully it's been 2 years of not being able to go anywhere. So hopefully we hit the road soon. But thanks so much for doing this. And for everyone listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Also, huge shout out to RCB Bank for jumping on board to be a sponsor. RCB Bank's loan promotion is here for a limited time. Head into any of their 40 Oklahoma locations to get as low as 1.79 APR on your next car, boat, camper, or ATV. Apply online at rcbbank.com. RCB Bank, that's my bank. Rate and finance with approved credit. Restrictions apply. And member FDIC. Huge shout out to my sponsors. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.